It's noon here in Ventnor City, New Jersey, and our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. And this is CarEdge live for Friday, November 15th, with your hosts, me, Ray, and the other guy, Zach. You all know him. I wasn't sure you were showing today. What's going on, buddy?
Come on, man. Don't pull my leg so early in the show. Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Car Edge Live. Today's show, Dad, is brought to you by none other than CarEdge.com. We, sometime this afternoon, are launching our Black Friday promotion. So if you're interested, save some money back at CarEdge.com for the first time ever. Again, it's not live quite yet, but later on this afternoon, for the first time ever, doing a $100 discount on our Concierge car buying service. So please, if you're in the market to buy a new or used vehicle, or if you're going to finance or lease it or pay cash, $100 off our Concierge car buying service. Everything is under buy a car right here, 25% off CarEdge Insights as well. Promotions out of the way, Dad. We've got some big news this morning. For the first time in 4 years, we are back over 3 million new vehicles in dealer inventory. This is a huge story, Dad, and a reflection of the deal making that is about to happen and has been happening for the past few months, but really about to pick up here at the end of the year. Let's talk about the numbers, Pops. 3 million plus new vehicles in dealer inventory. Why is this so important?
Well, it's important for a couple of reasons. Prior to the pandemic, the average number of new vehicles that were available for sale, either in the dealer inventory or in transit in any given month, was somewhere between 3.4 and 3.6 million vehicles. That number dropped as low as it was just under 900,000 during the height of the pandemic and the chip shortages.
Yep.
And we have seen the numbers slowly build up. And manufacturers said, we kind of like it the way it is. We're going to be very diligent to see to it that we never allow our inventory levels to build up to the heights that they had been prior to the pandemic. And when inventory levels are high, what typically happens is dealers have too many cars on hand. They become very aggressive in how they're willing to discount those vehicles. The manufacturers become very aggressive in their marketing assistance, the incentive programs that they use to incentivize the vehicles. Prior to the pandemic, 10.2% of the transaction price of all sales was incentive money from the manufacturers. And that number dropped down to 2% during the height of the shortages. Well, with inventories back up over 3 million, incentives have gone up. They averaged 7.7% of the transaction price last month. The asking prices or average transaction prices have stayed high, which is disturbing to me. But as inventories continue to grow, you would suspect that those average transaction prices will indeed come down.
Now, Dad, do you think there's a correlation between what we're seeing in incentives and what we're seeing in inventory? I think so, right? If we go back, Dad, let's look at this really quickly. I've pulled it up on the screen here. I will show you the amount of new vehicle inventory back in October of 2022. We're all the way in the Wayback Machine really quickly. And the headline then was new vehicle inventory rebounds in October for most brands to what? 1.5 million. All right. So we are double where we were just 2 years ago. And let's look at our handy dandy incentive chart. Where would incentives have been? This orange line back in October of 2022, we're somewhere around here. Right? And inventory was starting to, as this article says, not my words, article's words, rebound. Okay, so we were already starting to see an increase in new vehicle inventory. And then what are we seeing here on the incentives chart? A rebound, a bit of the increase in incentives. So the fact that we are back over 3 million vehicles in inventory, Dad, is great news for consumers. Now, some of the other data in here that we're going to look at is very confounding. Like, why are new car prices still as expensive as they are if inventory is building up? But the general trend is incredibly positive for the time of year where you can get the biggest discounts and have the most negotiating leverage, Q4, November, December. So I'm sitting here and this is great news from Cox Automotive, showing 3 million plus new vehicles inventory. Great news for consumers, bad news for dealers.
Yeah, I mean, what it really proves is that even though manufacturers said they wanted to keep their inventory levels between 2 and 2.4 million, they just don't have the gumption to actually be able to live up to that. Even though they're producing more higher profit margin vehicles and higher priced vehicles, they're going to continue to do that as long as the dealers agree to keep taking them off the manufacturer's hands. So these manufacturers are never disciplined enough to live up to what it is that they want to do. And because of that, ultimately, we should see the average transaction price, total average transaction price, come down because the amount of incentives have gone up. That is ultimately what we should end up seeing.
Supply and demand. You and I are not college educated, but we're still qualified to do this show because you know what? At its core, it's supply and demand. Supply is up, demand's down. That means one thing and one thing only. Dad, let's look at some of the brand specific data here. Yes. And I'll just read from the article quickly. As automakers and dealers alike continue to purge older metal and work to keep inventory of current model year vehicles down, holiday bells are already ringing with seasonal discounts. Still, most automakers saw days supply increase in the latest measure. So even though we've already started to see incentives increase, even though we've already started to see holiday sales, we still saw days supply of inventory increase, which again is good news for consumers. Yes. Toyota and Lexus, the perennial, quote, tight supply brands, continue to move product quickly compared to most others. Importantly, Stellantis has succeeded in trimming inventory among its core brands and, in the latest measure, is no longer posting record days supply at or above twice the industry average. Ram and Jeep saw notable decreases in days supply, fueled partly by higher incentives. And the other part to that was the fact that they actually cut MSRPs on some of their vehicles. So at the end of the day, it's price. And we're going to look at the specific brand data in a second here. And it's a good time, as good a time as ever, to remind you that with CarEdge Insights, you will get the best deal because you have access to this information. And again, that is 25% off between now and the end of the month. So take advantage of our Black Friday special back on CarEdge.com. But Dad, you can't be too surprised to hear, some good news for the brands that are actually increasing incentives.
Well, I don't know why anybody in the industry would be shocked to see that as you increase incentives, the vehicles that you put the increased incentives on sell better than the ones that don't have increased incentives. There's nothing shocking about this. This has been going on since the late 70s when Lee Iacocca came up with the idea, buy a car, get a check, when Chrysler first started doing rebates like that in the late 70s. So we know it works. They know it works for most vehicles. And so, yes, instead of having 180-day supply of Jeeps or Rams, they've been able to get it, I don't know, into the low 130s. Is it an improvement? Absolutely. Is it where they want their inventory levels to be? Absolutely not. They need them to be lower than that.
Let's look at breaking this down by brand. The average days supply of inventory right now for all new cars is 85 days. That's high, okay? Automakers want this number to be below 90, sometimes closer to 60, or really where you want to be is where like Lexus and Toyota are at 35. That means you are struggling to keep inventory on the ground. That makes you a more profitable enterprise because you have less floor plan, less inventory cost, okay? All of these dealers, all of these OEMs are concerned about how quickly they can turn their inventory so they can make more money. So when the entire industry has an 85 days supply of inventory, and again, I'll just jump back to, where were we back in October of 2022? Drum roll, please. We were at a 49 days supply. Okay. So sit with that for a moment. We have almost doubled how long inventory is sitting on dealer lots in 2 years. That's good news for consumers, bad news for dealers. The brands that have the lowest days supply, meaning they're turning their inventory the fastest, and you have the least negotiating power. You still have negotiating leverage, but the least. Lexus, Toyota, BMW, Honda, Chrysler, Porsche, Subaru, Kia, Acura, Land Rover, and Mitsubishi. They are all either at or below the industry average, Dad. And then those brands that have the highest days supply, Jaguar is off of the chart Okay. Jaguar can't even fit on the chart, is what Cox Automotive is telling us. And then Lincoln has a 168 days supply, Volvo 134, Ram, Dodge, Mini, Ford, and Jeep all at 119 or greater days supply of inventory. So a lot of brands here. Dad, look at that. Hyundai, 111 days supply for Hyundai. Go get yourself a Hyundai deal, folks.
Yes. There should be deals to be had as these inventory levels continue to build up. Now, I know that we will see in the comments that, well, the prices aren't coming down. The asking prices aren't necessarily coming down. The final negotiated price with incentives is definitely coming down.
100%.
It is lower today. People are paying less today than they had been a year ago. Doesn't mean that cars aren't stubbornly high priced, or the average asking price or transaction price isn't stubbornly high. It is. It is, in my opinion, ridiculously high. The vast majority, or the slowest selling group of vehicles, are vehicles priced between $50,000 and $80,000. So if your average asking price is over 48,000, that's too close to the slowest selling group. They need to bring the average asking price down back into the mid to upper 30s to get more people into the market again.
Well, Dad, I know you say that, but you can't change the current 3 million vehicles that have already been produced and are sitting on dealer lots. The thing that you can change is obviously incentives and negotiability. And I want to pull up. We just updated back on CarEdge.com/concierge. You just scroll down a little bit and we have our recent concierge deals. And we've added even more so that you can see even more. There are deals to be had, Dad. 2025 Honda CRV Sport, $3,500 dealer discount. That was back on November 5th. Let's see if we got any other recent ones here. A Hyundai Palisade SEL, Dad. This is for a CarEdge concierge customer back on November 4th in Delaware. $1,951 off of the dealer advertised price. So we are seeing this back with our concierge car buying service, and you are seeing it when you go and you actually negotiate with dealers, not necessarily what you see them advertise things for.
And may I say, 1951 was just a hell of a year, because that was the year I was born, damn it. But that, you're talking about a Hyundai Palisade that had an MSRP just under $42,000, and the customer saved nearly $2,000 off of that. Now, think about this for a second. 2 or 3 years ago, that $42,000 vehicle would have had a market adjustment of probably somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000 in additional dealer markup. So there's probably somewhere between, I don't know, a $5,000 and $7,000 swing in what people have to pay for these type of vehicles. Just pointing that out, well, for the sake of pointing it out.
No, man. I mean, it shows what's actually happening. We get to see it through our car buying service. We get to see it through the customers who use CarEdge Insights. We get to see it every single day. And it's the big picture data that's driving the conversation. You cannot go from a sub 50 days supply of inventory nationwide to an 85 days supply of inventory and not see realized savings for consumers. What you can experience, and what we have seen, is dealers still advertising ridiculous prices. Dad, the number of people that have reached out to me recently and said, hey, the dealer's trying to sell me this car at MSRP. Is that a good deal? No, like literally across the board, with the exception of some Toyota and Lexus products. And even there, it's really not an MSRP deal anymore. It's just dealers, you can't blame them, Dad. So many consumers. CarEdge, we don't touch every single person in the world that buys a car. I wish we did. Yeah. I wish they heard our message, but a lot of people out there buy cars and are not educated about market conditions whatsoever. Okay, if you said market days supply to someone, they're not going to know what it is. So dealers, I don't blame them. They're trying to make as much money as possible, and they know customers want to negotiate typically. So you start at MSRP or still above MSRP. But what we are seeing is when you're educated and empowered and informed, you can save thousands of dollars as compared to even a few months ago, because the market conditions have changed so much. So it's great data from Cox Automotive. Obviously, we have it in CarEdge Insights every single day it updates. But when we get this big picture data, it just paints the picture, man, of what's going on.
And it goes back to something I've always said: whether you are the seller or you are the buyer, You never get what you don't ask for. So if the dealer doesn't ask for MSRP or above, they can't get it. If you as a customer don't ask for a $3,000 or $4,000 discount, then you can't get it because they're not going to volunteer it and just give it. Hey, you
No.
seem like a hell of a nice guy. What do you say my name's Ray. I'll just give you $4,000 off. What do you say? It doesn't
No.
work like that. So you could be the nicest, best looking person in America, and the dealer's not going to go, that's the person that should get $4,000 off. You got to work for it. So you never get what you don't ask for. The dealer can't get it. The buyer can't get it. So always ask. It doesn't hurt to ask. The worst they can say is no, or you could just say no to them and go find a dealer that will work with you.
Go, if you haven't watched our emailing 100 Ford dealers or emailing 100 Toyota dealers, the spread on the prices you're going to get without even negotiating is through the roof. So yeah, obviously, Dad, the signs that we are seeing from the market right now are really, really, really positive for consumers, and just get more validation day in and day out that things are getting better. Dad, let's turn here to the chat. While I do, I'll pull up the CarEdge.com website behind me. Dad, we've got from Snow Rocket. Love that name, Snow
Yes.
Rocket. Thank you. What do you think will happen to used Tesla sales and prices prior to the president's inauguration? I'm thinking of buying a 2018 and 2019 Model 3, but can wait. This is a really interesting conversation because we anticipate EV prices will probably fluctuate significantly if the EV tax credits that were currently available are revised or removed or gone altogether. What do you expect to happen, Dad? Used Tesla prices have been plummeting off the face of the earth. Do you think that continues?
Well, if EV incentives make it possible for more people to be able to afford these things, and there are used vehicle EV incentives available, if those go away, and every anticipation is that they will, the Trump administration has already indicated they have no real interest in continuing those. So if these vehicles are sitting at a price point where there is a incentive available to lower it, and that incentive goes away,
yeah,
well, then the only thing that the dealership can do to move it is to lower the price themselves. So I would think if these incentives go away, ultimately the values and the asking prices for used EVs will drop. Now, will they drop below what you could get today if you took advantage of the price and it's qualified for the used EV subsidy at the moment? That's something that you have to look hard and long at, and pull out your calculator and do a little bit of math.
I think EV prices will continue to go down, especially for used Teslas, after we see any changes to tax credits. That's my 2 cents from Chloe. Thank you, Chloe. We appreciate the kind contribution. Last year, went to a Stellantis dealer on a Sunday with 0 customers. Salesperson said he hadn't sold anything in a week. How are they still in business? Service drive, baby. Go down your local automobile row and tell me which dealership doesn't have a service drive, Dad. That's where they're making all their money.
Well, the benchmark for dealerships is the minimum amount you want in what they call service absorption. And what service absorption is the minimum percent you want to aim for is 70%. What that means is you want to be able to make enough profit from your service side of the business that it absorbs 70% of all your expenses. So that way, sales and F&I don't have to produce quite as much. Some dealerships, some really well-run dealerships can have a service absorption in excess of 100%. So they don't even need the sales department to sell anything other than to continue to create more service customers for the service department. So that's why.
We've got here from Rich. Thank you, Rich. We really appreciate it. Got my used Mercedes-Benz delivered, sat in the back seat, and the lines and decor remind me of an opera house. It's ritzy, like Ray. Wow.
Oh, yeah, there's certainly nothing ritzier than me. Yeah, God knows. I mean, you just take one look at me. Yeah, Yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh,
say
yeah.
you identify as very ritzy, Dad. We've
Oh
got
my
here from
God. Yeah.
Robert.
I think I identify as like a Ritz cracker, for goodness sake.
From Robert. Thank you, Robert. What are just a few key benefits for retaining a CarEdge expert? Also, is delivery available? I am so proud. We actually just had a team meeting this morning talking
Yes.
about all of the incredible things our team has been able to deliver for our customers this month. And you can see it right here on the caredge.com/concierge page. You can learn all about, obviously, the deals that we've been able to get our customers, but also who we are, what we do, what experience you're going to have. I frequently asked questions down here as well. So please, 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 I encourage everyone to take a look at that. And yes, delivery, we do coordinate and facilitate. Hundreds of cars every month are getting moved around the country as a result of CarEdge efforts. All right, Dad, I got to jump early today. I was out yesterday. I got to jump early today. Busy, busy bee over here, but it's the end of the year, man. Black Friday sale back at caredge.com just launched today. So please go check that out. And it's the end of the year. So we really are, everyone's, all hands on deck. We want to help as many people get a good deal this November and December. And we'll be back on Monday to do it again at 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Eastern time, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, not standard, and 11 a.m. Central Time. There you go.
Well, I'm glad you've got that all figured out. You are the man. I don't want to keep you from your appointed rounds or whatever it is that you need to do. So jump, baby, jump. We'll see you all back here Monday. Hope you have a great weekend, handsome.
Thank you, Dad. I hope you have a great weekend too. Chloepo, I don't know, man. I'm still thinking about what car. Thank you for the kind contribution. We'll see y'all back here on Monday.
Quadrifolio or a Hornet. Yeah, those are two fine choices for you.